N.K. Srivastava. Sorry. Good afternoon, dear participants. I welcome you all to the third day of our session, fourth day for session 3. I also welcome Dr. Nirmal Kumar Srivastava sir from NIT Jalandhar to the Faculty Development Program. Dr. N.K. Srivastava did his BTech from Harcourt Butler Technological Institute, Kanpur. He is MTech from IIT Roorkee and PhD in Chemical Engineering from NIT Jalandhar. He joined erstwhile Regional Engineering College Jalandhar as lecturer in the year 1997. Presently, he is working as Associate Professor in the Department of Chemical Engineering at the B.R. Ambedkar National Institute of Technology, Jalandhar. Dr. N.K. Srivastava has 24 years of experience in teaching and research. He has published over 60 research articles in various referred journals and conferences, 5 books and book chapters. He is reviewer of 34 peer-reviewed, refereed SCI and Scopus Index journals and ebooks. He is member of organizing committees of 25 Scopus Indexed international conferences of repute throughout the world over. He has visited 6 countries to present his papers in reputed international conferences. He has life and professional membership of 8 organizations in the country. He is member of editorial board of 2 journals. He is invited member of National Board of Accreditation, Faculty Recruitment, Academic Audit and Board of Studies, and has delivered invited expert lectures in various institutes of repute in the country. He has been invited as National Committee member to be part of subject expert group for liquid waste management for Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, an initiative of Ministry of Education, Government of India. I welcome you again, sir, to the Faculty Development Program.
Thank you very much.
I request you, sir, to take on the session from here onwards.
Okay, thank you very much, and I welcome all participants. It is always difficult to have a lecture in the post-lunch session, but you have to bear with me. Anyway, my topic would be mostly concerned with the application of biotechnology in wastewater treatment. So first, I'll have just an overview what is environmental biotechnology and how this environmental biotechnology can be useful in different type of waste treatment technologies that are available to us. What are new areas of research where the people are working, and how we can have better technologies available to us so that we can reduce pollutants in the atmosphere, especially in wastewater. So welcome once again. I will start my presentation now. Am I audible clearly, or I should speak loudly or anything? Is it okay with all?
Sir, you are clearly audible. Your voice is very clear with this tone itself only, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, that's good. So sometimes network issues are always there in this online mode of presentation. So anyway, so this is good if you are clearly able to hear me.
Yes, sir.
So first, because most of you must be from the biotechnology background, so you are aware when we talk about environmental biotechnology. So what is exactly environmental biotechnology? It is the solving of environmental problems through application of various techniques of biotechnology that are available to us. The question arises why environmental biotechnology is required. So there are many applications where we can have the biotechnology as a current area of research. It is needed to eliminate the hazardous waste. It distinguishes between similar species and ensure species are not at the risk of extinction. And it also creates alternative energy sources like biofuel. That is one source which we can have. Now, if we talk about environment, there are many applications of biotechnology in the field of environment. We can remove oil pollutants using oil-eating bacteria. We can remove different industrial pollutants like heavy metals, different ions, toxic chemicals, pesticides, production of biodegradable plastics using vegetable proteins, production of environmentally friendly chemicals. So all these can be used where the biotechnology can be used for different measures for conservation of environment. And obviously it helps in many ways in the reduction of air, water, and solid pollution. Just a brief of the summary of how biotechnology can help in different human activities. So decontamination of environmental components, production of chemicals, biosensor, pollution prevention and waste minimization. This is one area where in the environmental biotechnology we can contribute. In agriculture area, we can contribute towards energy from renewable sources in agricultural waste. Genetic engineering has many applications nowadays. We can use this genetic engineering. I'll discuss later in my presentation how genetic engineering can be helpful in the removal of different type of pollutants in the industrial wastewater. Then in medicine, obviously, the applications are very large. Production of antibiotics, vitamins, steroids, insulin, etc. In food technology, we are using different components of biotechnology, like production of different fermentation processes like beer, cheese, yogurt, yeast, etc. So there's a wide range where this biotechnology can be helpful in daily life of human beings, and it is very useful in the pollution, you can say removal, different type of pollutants that can cause problem to human beings. So again, a summary of what environmental pollutants are generated due to different anthropogenic activities. So you can see if we talk about air, different air pollutants in the form of oxides of nitrogen, sulfur, then carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, particulate matters, hazardous waste, oil spills, organic pollutants. So different areas we can talk about of air, water, and soil where different type of pollutants are generated because of these human activities. And we can use environmental biotechnology as a measure to remove these type of pollutants. Different methodologies are available to us nowadays. Coming to the environmental pollutant sources. So different sources are there which contribute to the environmental pollutants, and different factors are responsible. You can see so microbes, plants, animals, we can use all for mineralization, transformation, emulsion of all these different type of pollutants. Now, if you talk about environmental biotechnology, this is just a flow chart which represents how this environmental biotechnology can be useful in pollution control and prevention. So different manufacturing processes are there, different pollution control techniques are available, waste management technologies are available. So we can use all these in one way or the other to remove different type of pollutants that are present. So bioremediation is one method, one technology that is available to us through which we can do the control the pollution from the wastewater. So if we see the definition, so complete mineralization of contaminants through biological activity. And we need different type of microorganism, plants, substrates, and nutrients for bioremediation processes. Different methods that are applicable for microbial bioremediation. So in situ process, ex situ processes are there. Then different bioreactors are available to us through which we can do this bioremediation process. Different type of aerobic and anaerobic microorganisms are available. Fungi are there, which are useful in the application of bioremediation for removal of different type of pollutants. Just a survey of different compilation of different type of microorganisms that can be used for different type of remediation processes. So different bacteria, that may be cocci, bacilli, then different types of bacteria. So all these you can see, they can be used for hydrocarbon degrading bacteria, heavy oil, they can degrade dairy industry waste. So different type of microorganisms have different types of application specific to that particular type of pollutants which we can use. Some may be suitable for heavy metal removal, but not for different ions. So specific type of microorganism can be used for specific type of pollutant removal. So just a summary I have prepared, you can see from there. So different types of bacteria and different activities where they can be used. Similarly, different type of eukaryotes like fungi, they have also application in the removal of pollutants. So they use organic compounds as carbon source and energy and play an important role in nutrient recycling in aquatic and soil environments. So different examples of different type of fungi are given. Similarly, we have algae, which are again used for different type of pollutants, play the role of primary producers in aquatic environment, carry out oxygenic photosynthesis and grow in mineral media and vitamin supplements. So similarly, we can have different type of viruses that can also be used. So some are indicators of contamination, some destruct host cells, some infect a wide range of organisms. So different type of microorganisms have different type of applications in the remediation process. Coming to the oil pollutant removal using oil-eating bacteria. So if we see the oil-eating bacteria, they are hydrocarbon degrading bacteria. They are present in the environment. Single bacterial species capable to degrade only a limited number of compounds in crude oil. And combination of different bacterial species is usually involved in oil degradation. What type mode of action we can use for oil degrading bacteria? So we all know that oil is made up of different type of hydrocarbons which are consumed by oil-eating bacteria as food source. And there are different steps involved in the oil cleaning process. So applying of oil-eating microbe solution to the spill, this solution increases the surface area and increases the oxygen supply to microbes. And in this way, they are removing the oils. Just a food chain of the aerobic oil degrading bacteria, you can see different consumption of different type of food, and the nutrients that is there is shown in this figure. Okay. So when we talk about, we all know there are three types of hydrocarbons: straight chain, branch chain, and 6-member rings. All these hydrocarbons are broken down by oil-eating bacteria. And these oil-eating bacteria, they break down these hydrocarbons into fatty acid and carbolic acids, which are again further broken down for energy in carbon atom, used in citric cycle to generate energy. So this is the ultimate use of the degradation process. Similarly, we can have different application in heavy metal removal, as I told you. So different type of biosorbents are available. They are being developed and characterized. They are evaluated to capture heavy metals and metalloids such as copper and arsenic to be used in large scales. So many applications of biotechnology is there in the removal of heavy metals. Just a brief about the adsorption process that you all know, must be knowing. So adsorbent for environment application should be reusable. We can recycle and reuse, regenerate the absorbent material again. So to make it more economically viable and its suitability is more. Then mechanically stable and efficient in removing the target pollutants. Most of the adsorbent system are based on porous, spongy, and highly interconnected gels and cryogels. So that you all must be knowing about the adsorption process, how this process is taking place. Removal of different type of toxic chemicals and pesticides again can be done. So they become an environmental hazard because they undergo degradation by microorganism and ultraviolet light, which releases toxic chemicals in the environment. And using biotechnology, bacterial pesticides and viral pesticides are being developed, which will help in reducing the use of chemical pesticides. So every substance has its own advantages and disadvantages. So likewise, we have to reduce the risk of the different type of pollutants that are there. Just a brief about how the pesticide cycle is taking place. So how this deposition is taking place, and then so that you all must be knowing. Another area where the biotechnology application can be there, that is biodegradable plastic using vegetable protein. So this technology converts vegetable protein from crops such as soybeans, canola, rapeseed, and corn into a starting material for plastic production using existing industrial technologies. And food oil and starch industry produces a surplus of vegetable proteins, which can be used for the manufacture of environment-friendly food packaging products. Okay. So just now you must be knowing that single-use plastic has been banned by the government from July 2020. So we need to develop such type of plastic material which can be easily biodegradable, which can be reused. So production of environment-friendly chemicals. So we can produce different chemicals, materials, energy from bio-based renewable raw material. The production process are based on fermentation or biocatalysis using wholesale or enzymes. So these are the various areas. I just had a brief about you. The different speakers must have told you in detail, must have discussed in detail about the different areas where how the waste minimization can be done. I'll be specifically discussing about the industrial wastewater because that is my area of research. So again, different applications where this biotechnology can be used nowadays. That is, one is molecular ecology. So using biological techniques, DNA fingerprinting, etc., to better understand the aspects of nature. And you must be having the idea about molecular ecology, how it can be done. So can be used to determine if a new species has emerged and also better map the evolutionary development of different families of animals. So this is one area. So DNA fingerprinting, now everybody is knowing about the bioremediation. I have discussed in brief about the process. So you can see how the oil spills can be cleaned using this. Phytoremediation is again another area which is being used largely for removal of different type of pollutants. So if we say by definition, this is the natural ability of plants to maintain, demolish, or dismantle the toxic chemicals and pollutants from soil. And these plants also help to prevent pollution carried by wind, rain, and groundwater from one area to another. So this is again one area where sufficient work can be done for the pollutant removal. Then you must be knowing there are different categories of phytoremediation process. So phytoremediation of organic compounds and metal pollutants in contaminated areas performed through one of these methods: rhizofiltration, phototransformation, photostabilization, photo extraction, phytovoltaization, and rhizosphere bioremediation. So just a brief about different processes. So the rhizofiltration, that is the method, is applicable to the removal of pollutants from surface water and groundwater. And it is used in artificial wetlands for wastewater treatment and the cemetery drainage. In this process, the root absorbs pollutant directly from the environment. So this is a brief about the rhizofiltration process. In phytotransformation, what we are doing, the plants absorb soil and ground from water pollutants and break down these chemicals through the metabolic processes. In photostabilization, the plants maintain soil and water pollutants, or they reduce the movement of pollutants in the soil environment. And this is normally done by surface adsorption or adsorption through the roots. So this is the process of photostabilization. Then photo extraction, it includes pollutants absorption by root and their accumulation in the shoots. These plants are mostly harvested and destroyed as herbaceous biomass. Then in case of phytovoltaization, in the absorption of pollutants by plant roots and then transferring of these to the leaves and their evaporation through stomata. And in case of rhizosphere bioremediation, the plants acts as a stimulus for the growth of microorganisms that are spherically around the roots. And different type of microorganisms such as yeast, fungi, and bacteria, they break down the pollutants through different metabolic processes. Biosensors, again, they are very useful in different type of wastewater treatment system where we can identify which type of pollutants are present in the wastewater. Now, you must be knowing about the biosensor that uses a biological entity, that is bacteria, to monitor levels of certain chemicals and uses chemical to monitor level of certain biological entities. Different uses of biosensors that include detecting levels of toxins, detecting airborne pathogen, monitoring blood glucose level, and different application, as I told you, in the wastewater treatment systems. So this is the simple mechanism how the biosensors work. So that simple, some electronic part is there, some microelectronics is used, how these biosensors can be used. Then biofuels, again, because of the restriction and the price hike you all see in the fossil fuel, the biofuel can also be a good substitute for different application for automobile industry. Different plants have been used for the production of these biofuels. Many different bacterial strains can produce lots of hydrogen under anaerobic conditions. And this hydrogen can be used as fuel source, with the only waste product being oxidized hydrogen, that is the water. So if we see the advantages of biofuels, they are the best way of reducing the emission of greenhouse gases. The use of biofuel has been increasing. Now you can see even the mixing of these biofuels are being done with the fossil fuels. Almost all types of materials derived from the plants are used for manufacturing biogas. But obviously some associated problems being faced by these is how to convert the biomass energy into the liquid fuel. So that is the work where it is going on currently. So this is just the different countries they are producing, they are working on the biofuel production. Now coming to this, my topic, that is the application of biotechnology in the industrial wastewater treatment. There are many areas through which we can use this biotechnology. Just before going to this, I would like to share one of my papers that I had written quite a years ago. That was novel biofiltration methods for the treatment of heavy metals from industrial wastewater. That was published in Journal of Hazardous Material. Currently, this journal has an impact factor of 10.588. So, and I'm also happy to share that this paper has now around 690, to be precise, around 700 citations in various refereed journals. So in this, I had discussed the different application of microorganisms, how they can be. Just a minute, I would like to discuss with this paper. Please allow me to share another file.
Sir, you are already allowed to share these slides, sir.
No, I'm just saying that let me, because I am taking some time. That's why I said.
Problem, sir.
Is it visible?
Sir, currently the slide that is visible is novel biofiltration methods.
That's okay. That's okay. Fine.
Industrial.
Because I'm not able to see myself what is being presented right now. Okay. So this was the paper that was published, and in that paper I discussed various biofiltration techniques that can be used, because my area of work is on heavy metals. So I am working on the different type of nanoparticles as well as some biological treatment systems from the industrial wastewater. So in this paper, you can see I discussed regarding various types of heavy metals that are creating problem. So you must be knowing about this Comprehensive Environmental Response and Compensation Liability Act. So this is the they produce a list every 2 years in which they publish the list of different type of toxic and heavy metals based, and they give on their ranking based on how they are severe or how they are hazardous to human beings. So I discussed about the different type of biofilters and how biofiltration methods that can be used, a review of whatever has been done about the heavy metal removal processes. So you can see this is a table I would like to share with you. Yeah. So these are different species of different microorganisms that can be removed, that can be used for the removal of different type of toxic and heavy metals. So different bacterial species are there, different fungal species are there, algal species are there. So you can see every type of particular species is capable of removing only a specific type of heavy metals. Okay. So not all species can be able to remove all type of heavy metals. So obviously work has been done to remove specific characteristics of one type of heavy metal can be removed using the one type of species. So just a summary, you can see different bacterial species have been mentioned. Then different fungal species are there, algal species are there, and how they can be used for removal of different type of heavy metals. This is a summary of how different type of species and how much efficiency we can obtain. So you can see when we are using a particular type of microorganism, we can achieve very high efficiency, maybe in the range of 97, 98, 99% removal of different heavy metals can be done. Then again, you can see in this paper, I have also discussed how different heavy metals like aluminum, arsenic, cadmium, then copper, mercury, zinc, they can all be removed using the application of genetic engineering. Okay. So genetic modification can also be done in different microorganisms, and using these different modification processes, we have found out that the efficiency of the removal process of different type of different heavy metals that are present in the wastewater that get increased. So this is again, you can see. So different modification are very genetic modification can be done in different type of, and specific techniques are available to us right now. So how we can do this? So genetic engineering can be used in different methods. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this I was discussing regarding my paper. I got another paper just now, which has been published in Journal of Environment Management. So this is regarding the color removal from pulp and paper industry wastewater. So we have also discussed in this paper how the biotechnology can be, just a minute. Okay. So in this review paper, we have discussed about how the color removal can also be done. We have discussed different physicochemical methods as well as the biological methods. So I'll discuss with you only with the different type of biological methods that is being used for the color removal. So you can see that if we see the color removal efficiency of pulp and paper industry wastewater, so different techniques are there, different type of effluent sources there. You can see the black liquor is there, then agro-based paper mill waste is there, paper industry wastewater is there. So a comparison has been prepared in this table where we are using different type of techniques for color removal. And you can see we can obtain very good range of color removal. The color removal percentage is roughly around 80 to around 99% by different methods which we are using for color removal processes. Then if we see the biological processes that we can use for color removal. So in different decolorization process, we can do decolorization with the help of different algae. So around 70% of the color can be removed using pure and mixed culture of incubation period of 2 months using different algae. In different studies, we have found around 80% of color removal can be achieved in the 30 days of the treatment process. And we can also do this decolorization using different types of bacteria. Different scientists have worked on different methods where this color removal can be done. And we have also found out that in most of the cases, we can reach around 90% or more than even 90% of color removal using different types of bacteria. Okay. We can also do decolorization using various types of enzymes. So such as cellulose, then peroxidase, etc. They can be used for decolorization purposes. Decolorization can also be done using different types of fungi. And in that study, we have also found that roughly around 80% of color removal, or in some cases even up to 90% of color removal is found when we are using different type of fungi for the color removal process. So this is I wanted to share with you. Okay. Now coming specific to the wastewater treatment system. Okay. Now we can have different biological methods for the treatment of wastewater. So one such method, we have the suspended growth systems and we have the attached growth systems. So activated sludge process is one of the suspended growth systems where we can use it. Similarly, the trickling filter system, they are using the attached growth systems for the treatment of wastewater. So when we talk about the activated sludge processes, in this method, you know, wastewater is placed in ponds and artificially exposed to air so that oxygen gets dissolved in the wastewater. I think Professor Gauri Shankar must have discussed with you the wastewater treatment systems with you. I don't know what he has discussed with you. Anyway, so this is one method which we can use for wastewater treatment systems. And this is the typical flow sheet of the activated sludge process, where the aeration takes place in the primary reactor and the secondary clarifier is there. This can be done using the sludge recycle or without sludge recycle. And then the clean wastewater or the effluent can be taken from the clarifier, which can further be reused. So then again, another process which can be used, that is bioleaching. So bioleaching is the process of using bacteria to dissolve metals instead of chemical solution. Bioleaching has been used to dissolve metals such as nickel, copper, zinc, cobalt, gold. So almost all type of heavy metals can be removed from the bioleaching process. Bioleaching works by using specific bacteria that can essentially eat the metal content out of ore. So this is the just a process how this bioleaching is done. And recovery of metals can be around 90% by this bioleaching process. So this is just a flow diagram how this bioleaching process is done. Then biofertilizer is another area which is produces low agricultural yields, but in this most attention is directed towards sustainable agriculture. So biological fertilizer contain living cells and different types of microorganisms which have the ability to convert chemical food complexes into simpler forms through various chemical processes. Okay. Then different type of bioreactors can be there. We all know what bioreactor is. That is a vessel in which a chemical process is carried out, which involves organic or biochemically active substances derived from various organisms. And we can have aerobic and anaerobic processes in these bioreactors. And they are commonly cylindrical in shape, ranging in size from liter to some cubic meters in size. And they are normally made up of stainless steel. Different type of bioreactors that we are using in different wastewater treatment processes. They are continuously stirred tank reactors, bubble column reactor, air lift reactors, fluidized bed, packed bed, photobioreactors. So you must be having some idea about these type of bioreactors that can be used. So just a brief about the continuous stirred tank reactor. So in that case, the air is added to the culture media under pressure through a device called asperger, and which may be a ring-shaped structure with many holes or a tube with a single orifice. The bubbles generated by asperger are broken down to smaller ones by impellers and dispersed through the media. And this enables the creation of uniform and homogeneous environment throughout the bioreactor. So this is how, on this principle, the continuous stirred tank reactor works. This is simple cross-sectional view of the continuously stirred tank reactor. You can see different components are there. So this is the sparger which is used for the instant mixing of the in the reactor. Then in case of bubble column bioreactor, so this reactor consists of long cylindrical column without horizontal perforated plates. Aeration and agitation is affected by sparging gas from the base via perforated pipes. And these are specifically useful for hairy root culture of plant cells. This is the diagram of the bubble reactor. Then in case of airlift bioreactors, they are classified as pneumatic reactors without any mechanical stirring arrangements for mixing. And in this case, the turbulence which is caused by fluid flow that ensures the adequate mixing of the liquid during the reaction process. The introduction of fluid causes upward motion and results in circulatory flow in the entire reactor. This is the cross-sectional view of the airlift bioreactor. So this is how the works on the simple mechanism. Then in case of fluidized bed bioreactor, so in this, an upflowing liquid stream is used to suspend or fluidize dense solid particles. It is more or less equivalent to bubble column, except that cross-sectional area is expanded near the top to reduce superficial velocity of fluidized liquid. Okay. So this has many applications in different wastewater treatment systems. So this is, you can see the cross-sectional view of a fluidized bed bioreactor. Then in case of packed bed bioreactor, again, as the name indicates, a bed of solid particles, usually with compressing walls, constitute packed bed. And particles may be randomly shaped wood chips or rocks or sphere cubes. And in this case, the flow rate and in turn the resistance time of substrate is manipulated to increase or decrease the substrate contact with the bed. So we can control that flow rate and residence time in that packed bed bioreactors. Again, this is the cross-sectional view of different types of packed bed reactors. Then photobioreactors are there. So photobioreactors are normally used for photosynthetic culture of cyanobacteria, different types of microalgae in plants. And because they are dependent on light, these type of reactors should have high surface to volume ratio, and this greatly affects the design of the bioreactor. And these bioreactors are generally open to atmosphere, not like ponds and lagoons, etc. So you can see these are different cross-sectional view how this is working. Then biofilters. So the gas to be treated, disposed or drawn through the filter. The medium offers good water holding capacity and soluble chemicals within the waste gas. Bacteria and other microorganisms that could be present degrade different components of the resultant solution, and that is why we are getting the desired results. The medium itself provides the physical support for the microbial growth of. Then with a large surface area to volume ratio, high in internal void spaces and rich in nutrient to stimulate and sustain bacterial activity. Biofilter need to be watered sufficiently to maintain optimum internal conditions so that controlled atmosphere is required. And you can see that if you talk about odor removal, the biofilters can remove around 95% of the odor from the gases. So this is just a simple flow diagram of the biofiltration process. Then other category of equipment that we can use for wastewater treatment system, these are the biotrickling filters. So biotrickling filter is a combination of biofilter and a bioscrubber The bacteria responsible for decomposition are immobilized on a carrier or filter media. And then surface must have a structure that allows biomass to bond it effectively. The polluted components absorb in the liquid film and are decomposed by the bacteria. So a biofilm is formed in the biotrickling filters where this absorption of different pollutants is there, which can be later removed from the wastewater. Okay. So this is a simple flow diagram of the biotrickling filter. You can see that. Then bioscrubbers is another category of equipment that can also be used. So it consists of different scrubbers that are there, which can be used to remove different components. The biologically degradable hydrocarbons and converted into hydrogen, the water and carbon dioxide. This is the typical flow diagram of the bioscrubber that is being used. Okay. Okay. So in case the wastewater treatment that we are talking about, so if we see different characteristics of wastewater that are generated by various industries, you can see that this is a typical characteristic of wastewater, which is there for, you can see, so different components like pH, total suspended solids, BOD, COD, then different ions. So all have been mentioned. The Central Pollution Control Board has notified industry-specific standards where the maximum discharge limit to any receiving wastewater body is mentioned, and what are different pollutant levels that we can have before discharging it to any inland surface receiving water body. So like in this case, you can see for pulp and paper industry, so different component values are given. Similarly for pharmaceutical industry, dairy industry, then for textile industry. So this is just a typical value that is being given for available in the literature for different components. So in case of wastewater treatment system, you must be knowing that Central Pollution Control Board has notified the discharge limits in various categories, whether we are discharging it to inland surface water or whether we are discharging it to a public sewage system, or we are discharging it to a, you can say, the coastal area. So for different areas, the different discharge limits are there. You must be having an idea that regarding BOD and COD. So earlier the BOD limit that was notified by Central Pollution Control Board, that was 30 milligram per liter for any inland surface water. Now you must be knowing that from this year, that limit has been reduced to 20 milligram per liter. So you can just have an idea that for pulp and paper industry, which is having a very high range of BOD value, let's say it is around 3000 to 4000 ppm. So from there, we need to reduce it to 20 ppm now, if we would like to discharge this wastewater into any river or pond or lake, any inland surface water. Similarly, you can see that in case of chip wash, the BOD value is very, very high, that is 12,000 ppm. So from this 12,000 ppm, you need to reduce this value to 20 ppm only. Okay. Similarly, you can see for pharmaceutical industries, again, we can have very large amount of BOD value. So this BOD value, you can see for synthetic drug plant, this can go up to 6,000 ppm. Again, we need to reduce this value to only 20 ppm. So you can just imagine the amount of treatment required for this. That's why the concept of zero waste discharge is there in all industries. We need to reuse more and more the wastewater that we are using, so that less amount of wastewater is generated, and so that the cost of treatment is reduced drastically. Similarly, many industries which are very high in generating, we can see again in case of milk processing plant, around 350 to 1100 of ppm of BOD is generated. This is 1200 to 1400 is the concentration of BOD that is generated. So again, we need to reduce this value to only 20 ppm. So distillery is one industry which is generating very high amount of BOD value. So we can just imagine how much amount of treatment would be required for different type of pollutants that we are discharging into inland surface water. Okay. And just to compare it with the type of wastewater characteristic of municipal wastewater with the industrial wastewater, you can see that in case of municipal wastewater, we are having a BOD value normally in the range of, if it is very strong, then 400 ppm. So that is not having very high value, but still we need to reduce it to 20 milligram per liter. So you can just imagine how much amount of treatment is required in all cases. So we need to use this water judiciously so that the discharge is less, pollutants are less, and so our treatment cost is reduced to a very large scale. Again, just a summary, they have presented different type of contaminants that can be present in the wastewater systems. So that can be in the form of suspended solids, nutrients, different organics, pathogens, heavy metals, inorganic compounds, then biodegradable organic compounds, and different priority pollutants. So we all know we can have two types of treatment. One is the aerobic biotreatment and the anaerobic biotreatment. So this is just a summary they have presented here for the biological wastewater treatment systems. So one is activated sludge system that we have discussed, and there is the trickling filter system, which are working on attached growth systems where the biofilm is formed. So typical example of activated sludge system is activated sludge system. And in case of biofilm processes, the trickling filter system is normally used in most of the cases of industrial wastewater. We can also use different anaerobic biotreatment systems also, where the sulfate reducing process is there. Okay, so typical mechanism is available to us. So we can compare with how the conventional wastewater treatment system and the wastewater treatment done with a microorganism, how we can compare the removal efficiency. We can compare the economic feasibility of the process. Okay, then coming to the advanced wastewater treatment systems. So different membrane systems are nowadays used for the biotreatment systems, we all know. So nanofiltration processes there, which we can use for different type of membrane bioreactor systems are there. So you can see a comparison has been presented here for the sustainability criteria for membrane bioreactor technology on various parameters of economic criteria, then environmental criteria, technical and socio-culture. So again, a comparison has been prepared. You can see in this table. So obviously there are some advantages and some disadvantages associated with any of the processes. Then you can see for different pollutants that are there, the performance of membrane bioreactor systems. So suspended solids, you can see complete removal is possible for the suspended solids. Then for different type of microorganism, reliable removal by size exclusion, retention by dynamic membrane, etc. For sludge stabilization, you can see that minimize excess sludge production due to long retention time and degradation of hazardous substances. So selective growth of a specific microorganism is expected for hardly degradable hazardous substances. Okay. So that metal removal I have already discussed with you through my paper. Again, they have compiled a table for the different type of microorganisms that can be used for removal of different type of heavy metal ions like cadmium, chromium, nickel, lead, etc. They have mentioned in different species that can be used for. So again, you can see a long list is there. They have done from the literature review. So for almost all type of heavy metals, different type of microorganisms can be used for the removal. So again, you can see that this is the continued table where this is specific type of species are there for the removal of different heavy metals. A comparison table of different bioremediation technologies strategies have also been mentioned in this table. You can see various in situ, ex situ processes, different bioreactors. So different advantages and disadvantages they have discussed with it. So in case of in situ processes, this is most cost efficient. Then natural attenuation processes treats soil and water, but it has some limitation of environmental constraint, extended treatment time, monitoring difficulties, etc. So every process has its own advantages and disadvantages. Then they have given a comparison of different phytoremediation techniques that can be used for different pollutant removal. So solid waste biotreatment, again, that is another area where the biotechnology has a lot many applications. So different type of aerobic and anaerobic digestion systems are available to us nowadays. Composting is another process which we can do for the removal of these organic compounds. So I think this is regarding my presentation. So this is a long list. We can share these presentation with you so that you can have an idea how different applications are there which can be used for different type of pollutants. So in this paper, I have found that very good compilation of literature is there, which can be helpful for your further research work. So if you have any queries, any doubts, you can discuss.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your research experience and knowledge with us. Your talk of today will certainly inspire our participants to explore the various aspects of biotechnological interventions such as bioremediation, mycoremediation, phytoremediation, and others to minimize the hazardous and toxic effects of wastewater. Your session on wastewater management will also motivate our participants to involve themselves more with research and development activities for efficient, sustainable management of industrial as well as municipal wastewater. Dear participants, if you have any questions or to sir, you may open your mics as I have enabled the opening of mic to all the participants and can ask questions directly to sir. Or if you are unable to unmute yourself, then you can post your question on the chat box. I can ask the question on your behalf.
Definitely, I will share my PPT with the organizers, so you can have these all material that I have displayed that can be given to you. Any queries, any questions? If you have, you are most welcome to ask.
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, namaskar, sir.
Namaskar, ji.
Sir, I am Ashutosh Mishra from Ambedkar Institute, Kanpur.
Okay.
Sir, one query is there that I want to know how to reduce low solubility of gas in bioreactors for plant cells, sir. One way is
your question is good. My area is wastewater. I'm not working on different gases there right now. So
Okay.
you may ask the concerned person if it is available in these FDP. So I'm not working on gaseous systems right now.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
So one of the question is from one of our participants. How we ensure that suspended solid is heavy metal, or what type of heavy metal is present in wastewater?
So that depends which type of industrial wastewater you are talking about. So different industries produce different type of, suppose electroplating industries there, iron and steel industries there, so tanning industries there. So obviously, depending upon which type of wastewater we are collecting. So if we are taking the real wastewater, we need to have the idea from where this wastewater is coming, and then only we can have the idea for different type of heavy metals that can be present. Okay. Otherwise, that will be a tedious job to test for all types of heavy metals. Okay.
Dear participants, any more questions to sir are welcome. So would be happy to answer your.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
Sir, I'm Neelam, 2004 HBTI Oil Technology.
Yeah, I know well.
Yes, sir. Sir, is there any any relevance कि जो हम oil polymerized oil को भी हम biotechnological route से recover कर सकते हैं, sir? जो सर used oil, is there कुछ उसमें ऐसा कुछ हो सकता है?
I am not getting your voice clearly. Could you please repeat?
सर, जो used oil होता है, जैसे जो हम कई बार यूज कर चुके होते हैं, तो पॉलीमराइज जैसे हो जाता है ऑयल. सो इज देयर एनी रिसर्च और एनी रेलेवेंस कि हम उसको बायोटेक्नोलॉजिकल रूट से फिर से रिकवर कर सकते हैं?
Yeah, definitely there are some species available. I need to find out because I am presently working on wastewater treatment systems only. So you know that research work is very limited to a particular field only. But yes, definitely there are definitely methods available. We can reuse that cooked oil by different methods. We can decompose it into different components.
सर, क्योंकि बायोटेक्नोलॉजिकल रूट से हम लोग बना तो रहे थे बायोफ्यूल, जो मिथाइल ईस्टर्स वगैरह काइनेटिक्स को उसमें एंजाइमेटिक रूट से बना तो हम रहे ही थे.
हाँ, definitely. मतलब I can say the methods are available. I need to find it out. So right now I don't have the exact answer to your query.
Okay,
but
no issue, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
There is one more question from our participant. What are the key techniques to collect the sample and how select the oil degrading bacteria from that oil contaminated site?
Key techniques that are available.
Yes, sir. For collection of the oil degrading bacteria, and how can we select that the bacteria is have capabilities for oil degradation?
So that can only be done through isolation and characterization. Before that, how can we say which type of technique would be used for? So first we need to isolate. First we need to study the characteristic of that particular bacteria, and then only we can say. Otherwise, it is no standard method is available to in research work. You cannot have any one specific instrument and you can say this will fit to all.
So there is one more question.
Okay.
Sir, the current technologies do not allow for the reduction of BOD and COD to the levels as prescribed by the government. how can we reduce or how can we bring down the BOD and COD levels to such an extent of 20 ppm for the waste effluent?
How can we reduce?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So obviously that we need to find out a specific pollutant removal for that. Means if you are talking about biological process, so obviously first we need to find out how can we reduce that BOD value. Okay. So different by primary treatment systems, we can remove around 30 to 35% BOD value, and remaining can be done using the advanced treatment systems if required.
Okay, sir.
Because that is the foundation to all. We cannot discharge more than 20 ppm of BOD value to any receiving water body nowadays.
Exactly.
So strict pollution norms are there. We need to reduce it in any way. Okay.
Dear participants, any more questions from your side? I guess no more questions, sir.
Thank you very much. I'll share the PPT with you. You can distribute to the participants.
Please,
So
sir.
thank you for patience hearing, and it is good experience to interact with you all. Thank you very much.
It was wonderful hearing you over here, and we, the family of AITH, is very grateful to you for sparing your precious time for this faculty development.
Thank you very much.
Dear participants, since tomorrow is the last day of our faculty development program, I request all the participants to join the faculty development program on time for tomorrow, and the notification for the quiz will be shared with you all tomorrow itself only. So please be present in all the sessions so that you do not miss the quiz session of the day. And I request all the participants to be present in the valedictory session also for tomorrow. Here I conclude the day 4 of the FDP session. Thank you.